Chapter 1.2 Echo in the Valley. Dawn in Schattenwald was always slow, as if nature were reluctant to part with the peace of night. But this morning was different, not the singing of birds or the whisper of wind through the firs, but a sense that the air itself had grown denser, richer, saturated with electric ozone that left a metallic tang on the tongue. John had overslept, something that happened to him from time to time. After a strange night full of restless dreams, he had tossed and turned, unable to shake the feeling that something was holding on to him even in sleep. The dreams had been vague, elusive. Any attempt to recall them failed, leaving behind only an echo of unease and blurred images, as though his mind was trying to decode a signal it was not yet ready to understand. John was a man of systems. His laboratory, his life, everything subject to order, where every object, every thought had its proper place. But discipline and routine. Here, he lived by a different rhythm. Sometimes he worked for days on end without stepping outside, losing track of what day of the week it was. His life was arranged so that nothing could distract him, so that the surrounding world could not intrude. He had no idea that this order was about to be overturned, and though choice still remained, accepting it in the events to come would be harder than ever. Waking closer to noon, John washed, breakfasted on cold coffee and dry toast, already feeling his thoughts circling around the cube, the device that had unpacked itself in his mind during the night, like a swarm of insects. He decided to step outside, to breathe the sharp mountain air and clear his head, if only for a moment, from the torrent of information threatening to drown him. But as soon as he crossed the threshold of his laboratory, reality struck like a tsunami. He tried to steady himself, to focus on the walk, on the world around him, rather than just moving his body mechanically while his mind drifted. But the cube inside his head pulsed, diagrams and formulas flashing before him, refusing to let him rest. He felt himself both here and somewhere else, in a space where the boundaries between mind and world dissolved. The first anomaly caught his eye by chance. Snow on the slope, usually sparkling under the midday sun, now shimmered not white but with prismatic shades, violet indigo with flickers like the aura of a migraine. John bent down, touched it. The snow was warm, almost alive, and under his fingers it melted not into water but into vapor, rising to form tiny clouds in the shape of perfect spheres. Thermodynamics is broken, he muttered, feeling awe mixed with fear. The vapor settled on his skin, leaving traces like phosphorescent tattoos that slowly faded. A name surfaced inside him, Forest of Shadows, an echo from his dreams, though he could not recall where it came from. The valley had awakened differently. Down in the village, where usually a sleepy routine reigned, farmers feeding livestock, the rare tourist wandering the trails, now absurdity unfolded. A flock of sheep on the meadow did not scatter chaotically. They moved in synchrony, forming circles and lines, as if performing a ritual dance to inaudible music. John noticed one sheep standing still, staring at the sky, its wool vibrating faintly, emitting a weak glow. The animals did not seem frightened, rather contemplative, as if they had suddenly realized their role in some greater pattern. The plants, too, had changed. The firs on the slope stretched their branches not toward the sun but in strange directions, forming arches and spirals through which the wind whistled melodically, like a flute. The leaves rustled not with random noise but with sequences of sound, like Morse code or fragments of a forgotten language. John froze, stunned. It was as if he were dreaming with his eyes open, inside a 3D world familiar yet utterly transformed. People had become the center of transformation. Schattenwald was home to no more than 200 souls, quiet, practical Swiss accustomed to isolation. But now they wandered the streets with a philosophical gaze, stopping in the middle of the road simply to look. Old Hans, the local baker, stood in his doorway holding fresh bread. Instead of giving it out, he broke off a crust and watched as the crumbs slowly drifted upward into the sky, defying gravity. Pure surrealism. John, look, they are flying, he exclaimed as John approached, then continued. It is so empty in me, as if everything I ever knew was just a dream, and now I am waking up. His eyes, usually dulled by routine, now shone with curiosity mixed with something indescribable, serene disorientation, as if society had suddenly realized the futility of its rituals. John stood dumbfounded, feeling caught in a strange, distorted world where everything was familiar yet at once alien. After noon, the anomalies intensified. The air above the central square shimmered like old film stock, showing ephemeral images, fragments of someone else's memories or visions. Mrs. Muller, a middle-aged woman, stopped John, her voice trembling. "This is not my past. It is as if someone is rewriting my life." She saw in the flicker her childhood, but with distorted colors and events she could not remember. Her words carried an absurd humor, as though she were laughing at reality itself, turned into a public spectacle. John felt a connection. These anomalies resonated with the seed in his head. The cube in his imagination pulsed in rhythm with the valley's hum. He returned to his laboratory and began documenting the phenomena. His fingers flew across the keys, but within him grew the realization: this was no accident. XELAN had triggered a chain reaction, where information was seeping into reality, blurring the borders between matter and thought.